In today's video, we are going to calibrate our Cricut machines. So let's get going. This is an image I made using the print and cut feature prior to calibrating my Cricut machine. Once we're done with the calibration process, we'll compare this image to the new image and see what difference it makes. As you can see in this image, there is a bit of a white border in a couple different spots here, and that is where the machine wasn't cutting as accurately as it should be. Now, calibrating your machine is making sure your machine cuts where it's supposed to cut. Calibrating your machine is especially important when you're going to do printable vinyl projects, print and cut stickers, or any project where you send the project to the printer first and then on to the Cricut. So let's head into Cricut Design Space and I'll walk you through the process. Now, you should only have to calibrate your machine one time, but if you start to notice your machine isn't cutting properly, you may want to go ahead and recalibrate. Now, I happen to have an Explorer Air 2 and a Maker, so I'm going to look to make sure I have selected the right machine to begin the process. And as we can see up here, I'm going to go ahead and start with my Maker. So that has been selected. Now go to the top left menu button over here, sometimes called the hamburger menu. It's those three little lines in the corner, and you're going to click on it and it will open up a menu on the left, and we'll go right down here to calibration. Now this screen will pop up telling you what it's going to calibrate. It'll walk you through the whole process so that it's as simple as it can be. Now for the Maker, it will show you these three calibration settings: the Rotary Blade, the Knife Blade, and the Print and Cut. For the Explorer Air 2, you'll only have one setting, and that will be the Print and Cut setting. Like I said, the first machine we're going to calibrate together is my Maker, so we see these three options in the box. Let's click on Print and Cut. Another box pops up with the 2 steps you'll need to follow. The first step is to print the calibration sheet. Make sure the correct printer is selected. So I'm going to click here and change mine to my Epson, and then click Print. Once your printer has printed the calibration sheet, you'll notice a row of numbers across the top and a row of letters along the side and a few boxes inside. This outer box is called the registration box. Next, you'll place the printed sheet on your mat and be careful to lay it down to where all of the edges are touching the lined edges on your mat. Now you can select Continue and feed the mat into your Cricut. Once it's loaded, the Cricut Go light will begin flashing and you can go ahead and press it. Your Cricut is now going through a process where it scans the boxes. And it's also cutting out the smaller square in the center. And now you'll notice on your computer that it's asking for you to look without unloading the mat and see if the box has been cut along the lines. Now, to be honest, it's awful hard to see exactly where the cut appears on this line, but they don't want you to remove the mat because it is trying to calibrate according to this image that is actually printed on this paper. But one trick I found, if you lift up your paper, you can see closer up on the image and see that in fact there is black remaining all the way around that square. There is also black remaining on the paper all the way around the square. So I would say, yes, it does touch the printed line all the way around. So we will head back over to the computer and select yes. And it says we're getting close. Let's fine tune the calibration. Select continue to perform the cuts. Your Cricut will then proceed to cut along the lines towards the top and the side of your paper. This will fine tune your cutting. Now again, without unloading the mat, you'll have this box that appears where you'll be asked which line has been cut in the center the best. You select the number and letter that had been cut the closest to the center of the line. Your number and letter may be different from mine. So we'll get real close here and see if we can tell. Now, line 1, if you can see that at all, I'm not real sure if you can even see it, but there is a fine line, but it is to the left of the black line. So each one seems to get a little bit closer until we get like to number 9, and that looks to me, well, actually 9 and 10 look pretty close, but 11 looks like it's going right through the dead center of that black line. And then looking down the right hand side at the cuts here, we're looking for the one that goes right down the center, and it looks like that would be either K or L. They both look like they're pretty good, but I'm going to go with K. So across the top, I am selecting 11, and across to the right, I'm choosing K. And then we will hit continue. Now the machine's going to do what it calls a confirmation cut. It's going to cut along the larger of the boxes on your sheet inside the registration box. Now you're instructed to unload the mat from the machine and look at the confirmation cut to see how close it cut to the line. If you're happy with the cut, you're all done. So we'll take a good look at mine here. And I'm going to do the same that I had done for the small square, and I'm going to lift this up. And I can see some of the black line all the way around the square, and there is also some of the black left all along the square left over on the paper itself. Now, if you have found that it has cut properly, you're fine. But if it has not cut properly, you will just go ahead and reprint your calibration sheet and go through the process again. Now, if you were calibrating your Explore Air 2, you're all done and you're fine to go. Make whatever you want to make with your Cricut. But since we're calibrating my Cricut Maker right now, we're going to move on to the knife blade calibration. And again, this is found by clicking over here on the menu screen and selecting calibration. So I'm going to click right now on the knife blade, and it says to insert the knife blade into clamp B and place printer paper in the top left corner of the mat, and then click continue. So I'll remove my fine point blade out of housing B, and then I will carefully place the knife blade in. If you're not familiar with the knife blade, this is what it looks like. We have a piece of paper in the top corner of the mat, and we'll hit continue. Go ahead and load the mat. And go. Now we can go ahead and unload our mat. And the screen prompts us that after you unload the mat, count down from the top and select the group of lines that overlap the most. This is a good overlap where it looks almost like one solid line. This is a bad overlap where it kind of, you can tell it's on top of each other. So looking down on mine, I would say number 3 from the top is right about perfect. So on the screen, I will select number 3, continue. And then if you would like to learn more about the knife blade and how to care for it, they have some instructions right here. Otherwise, you can click close. And there is the knife blade, simple, done. Now we're going to go up here because there is one more thing to calibrate on a maker. Select calibration again, and this time it is the Rotary Blade. So we're going to select that, and it says again, for best results, use a sheet of printer paper to calibrate the blade. So we're going to remove the knife blade from clamp B and switch out with the Rotary Blade. And again, we have the printer paper in the top left corner of the mat. We'll load the machine and go. And as you can see from the screen, it says that it has made 7 different cuts, and it wants you to choose the ones that overlap the most. So we'll take out our paper, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to get a real good picture of this. But again, it is the 3rd from the bottom for me that overlaps. Let me look here. Yep, 3rd from the bottom overlaps the most for me. So on the screen, I will select number 3 and continue. And the Rotary Blade calibration is complete. And there you go, your calibration is complete and you're ready to go. Now you should only have to do this once, like I had said before, but as you're going along, especially if you're making a lot of stickers and you start to notice that your cuts aren't lining up just right, then you can always go ahead and do this process again, and it will refresh the settings in your machine and you will be good to go. Now we'll just do a little side-by-side comparison. This is the one that I did after the calibration. And we'll get closer here. And you can see there is no white outline showing whatsoever. So it did pretty good. So if you liked this tutorial and you found it helpful, I would love it if you would go ahead and tap the like button, and also make sure that you subscribe so that you will see all of my tutorials when they come out. And again, I look forward to seeing you next time in the craft room.